Alright, so as I said, we're going to do that. And that means we take out these pieces here. That's the rear quarter galleys and the brackets. Now I'll cut all those out, clean them up, and we'll show you how it goes together on the rear of the ship. Okay. This is the stern fascia and side section. Now the manual does say it's fiddly, well, that's to say the least. The easiest way to do it is to place this bottom portion on first. Just locate the centre of it. I drilled 3 small holes, then held it in place with mat pins and clips. The easiest way to do it is you take the central section here and line it up with that. Once you've done that, lay this fascia piece on top of it, make sure it's right to the edge. Drill a couple of holes in this to make sure this is centrally located, and then I pinned it in 4 positions. Now the reason you do that is so that you can add this template to the correct position, and you'll hold that template in place and then add a couple of these. If they fit in perfectly, you know that's in the right place. Then mark that with the pencil and glue that in place. Once that's glued in place, you can then re-add this back section here and then glue these in correctly. But most importantly is getting this lined up properly. You can't get that lined up properly unless these are pinned into place. Once that has dried, you can then glue the internal fascia and the bottom spacing here into place, and then add these and glue those into place. Now none of this has been glued, it's all just held in place with pins and the clamps at the moment. I'll undo those and you'll see where I've marked where this is, and then we'll glue one of these in place. When then it's dry, we can re-add this and add that and glue that in place, and that's it. Fairly complex little beast. Right, as I said, we've marked the area where this piece goes. It was held into place and used these guys to hold it in the correct position. Now we know it's in the correct position, we can add some glue to this and glue it in place. So I've pinned the bottom portion of this on straight, and the 2 edges have now been glued on. When they dry, we'll add the next portion. So the stern fascia, upper and lower, have been glued into place. Stern fascia has been pinned into place, and the stern cabin area has all been glued into place. I've tested the top section here for the galleys and it fits. So when this is all dry, we can fit the individual galley portions. Cheers. Adding part 215, which is the top of the galleys. Slots in the back rear galley section and down and into sit straight and flush, and that's it. Just hold it in place. that one. And that's the first portion of the galley added. I'll repeat it on the other side. Right, we're now going to add the rest of the pieces to this side. I'm looking at the back section there, holds the rear portion of this in place. 16. Part 17, 217. Two 19s. Make sure that's nice and straight on the edge. On the 19. Use this one to bring that in flush. With slots in it. on the end here. Last one's been a little bit difficult to get into, but it does continue to be difficult. I'll just sand it. And that, just straighten that up. That's all nice and straight along there. They're all glued in. And the last piece at the bottom can also be glued into place. Should sit flush against there. And that is that side done. I'll let that dry, and then we'll add on the unders and overs. I'll explain that to you afterwards. Okay. Right, so now the iron's hot. Okay. Continue the process of shaping this item with the heat and the fact that it's been soaked. Be careful not to burn your fingers. Now you can't soak this wood for too long because it's only 1.5mm ply and the glue will delaminate if you're not careful. So it doesn't need much of a curve, but does need one. And as you can see, it's now got a curve in it, which means if we take it down to the other end, it should fit. We'll have a look in a sec. So you can see now the counterpiece has been shaped. It now simply sits into place. And here, and once we glue it down, will form correctly with the edges here. Just have to take a little bit of sanding out of here to make sure she fits smooth. Otherwise that's all shaped and ready to be glued into place. Yeah. We've added the first set of windows and the first balcony. To do this, we glue a piece of acetate on the back. We've then used the iron to heat up the shape, and this, when it dries, will fit in there as so, and that's the second balcony. We'll glue that into place when it's all dry. So it's been fairly simple. As long as you concentrated on building this correctly, which we did, measured it out, then the assembly is pretty simple. And the next level has been added, and now that's drying and gluing in place. And we've got one more set of windows and the base to add. As I said, it's fairly simple. And we're in the right way and gluing it in place. As long as we've got it pre-bent, it's fairly easy. We've now added the rear galleys completely at this stage. It's a slight curve on top. Now that this section is complete, we can now start, according to the manual, some inner decking, which goes from bulkhead 4 through to bulkhead 12. To do this, here's some planking wood. I've put 2 strips, one there and one there at 4 and 12 to make it easy to use this guy to line up the correct length for this area. Now, before I do that, I'm going to repaint the inside of these because all this will be visible through the entryways, and then we'll do the planking, and I'll show you a butt shift that the Victory used, and we shall continue from there. Okay. Alright, so what I have here is a board called a Chopper 2. I've measured the distance between the 4th and the 12th, and it's 390. So I've divided that by 4 to give us some even plank lengths, which happen to be 97.5 or near enough millimeters long. So I've measured 95.7 or 97.5 along there, and what we will do is we'll chop some lengths using the tangle wood as provided. We should start off with a nice flat end. And the reason for this, cutting them, is obviously planks inside the ship weren't as long as the ship. This is an arbitrary size, which probably approximates the size that they would cut the planks at. When we've done that, I'll show you the next stage. Right, so now we've cut our planks, or some of them, cut more if needed. We need to provide the caulking between the planks, which is used on the ships to seal them. At 1:72 scale, this is very, very subtle. So the easiest way to do it is use a pencil to darken the edges. I'll show you. So we grab a few planks. It'll take a while to straighten these up. Always a bit of a pain. planks edgewise using a standard pencil. Provide dark edge on the planks. It's not going to be perfect, it doesn't need to be, it's only to provide darkening to the edges. Flip them over to the other side. Also do the ends. And the other side. And now we lay them out in a planking pattern. Yeah, nicely defined caulking edge on the planks. And we'll show you how I do the shift system shortly, and then we'll take these and we'll glue them into the base. Thank you. Alright, so to do the floor shift, a bit of glue. Yeah, simply start with the quarter piece. And then we just continue it up with falls all the way up. Clean the glue off afterwards. Let's go to the last section. Which is the 3/4 piece from the quarter that we cut off. Make sure all these planks are flush up where they should be. And use a cloth to wipe off the glue. Add some glue again. We do the next row. See why I've put the mast in temporarily shortly. Next, we go a half piece. So we've gone from a quarter to a half, which moves the join up, and then we do the repeated process of installing all the pieces in again, same as we did before. So the process is quite simple. And we'll have a half left over. Put on the other end. And this time we'll repeat it again, but with a 3/4 piece, which shifts it again. And this time on the opposite end, we put a 1/4 piece. And finally, just a full set of normal strips. And that is what is known as a 4-butt shift. And we'll just continue doing that all the way across. The reason this guy's here is I will stop the planks when they get to that, is we have to put a mast support guide on, and there's no point trying to cut the two in a match perfectly, as it will go over the top and cover it. So that is a 4-butt shift. Okay.